You're listening to Inside Real Estate, your source for all things mortgage and real estate related. The show that brings you all the hottest topics and insights directly from those who know it most. Now sit back and enjoy the show.
What is up, everyone? Paul Apostolakis, Brad Wiesgerber,
Paul Apostolakadropoulos,
Salvatore Cusmano, and today we have a special guest, Isaac Whitney. He does insurance with Community Choice, was it?
Community Insurance Center.
Well, okay, whatever. It doesn't matter. You're the insurance guy. So welcome to
CIC.
CIC.
Welcome to Inside Real Estate. Obviously, everybody, thank you for subscribing, listening, and if you found us for the first time, I'm sure you'll turn it off pretty soon. So
one day, are you going to say that we don't have a special guest? Our guest is not so special. Every week, we have a very special guest.
I mean, what else are you going to say?
I mean, I don't know.
You know,
Depends on what type of special you're talking.
Yeah.
You are special, my friend. Obviously, go to irepodcast.com, go to wherever and subscribe and listen to us. Isaac is a long friend of the firm. We've been working with him for a long time. He does insurance, and he's an independent insurance agent, basically, broker, where he can go to different providers. And he's always done a really good job. And I always think it's interesting how insurance a lot of times gets overlooked in the home purchase process or home owning process. And I think there's a lot of misconceptions about insurance. So I always think it's interesting to bring you in and kind of shed some light on that part of it. Because, it's an afterthought a lot of times. And to me, insurance is pretty important. It's one of those things, though, you don't need it till you need it, right?
Absolutely.
Right? And if you don't, a lot of people are like, oh, I got a really good rate on my insurance. And then all of a sudden something happens and they realize their insurance is shit, right?
Right.
They didn't have the right coverage.
One thing I'm going to talk about today is the price myth, where cheaper is cheaper. And what I'm talking about is cheaper coverage.
You kind of get what you
do.
Yeah, right? But you can also get value, right? I think it's a lot of things are about value. It's like you can pay more, but what's the value proposition on that?
Correct.
So, we'll dig into that. I want you to really kind of give the audience some ideas on what they should be looking for as far as insurance goes. What is considered good or bad, and there's a lot of things that a lot of people just don't even think about, and I think that'll be interesting. And I do want to talk about, if everybody's listening right now, we're recording this the night before Thanksgiving.
Today is not Thanksgiving.
Today is not Thanksgiving. A lot of you will probably hear this either after Thanksgiving or potentially like after Black Friday. So if you guys are going out looking for deals, it'll be interesting to see how this year goes as far as spending. I think a lot of people are going to spend a lot of money this year.
Yes.
A lot of people have jobs and
make sure you have good insurance before you go to those crazy parking lots.
That's right. And make sure if you buy anything important, make sure you get it insured.
Yeah.
Or if you go to the car wash.
That's a very good point.
So
watch out for those car washes.
Just so everybody knows, Brad backed into someone with his monster truck at the car wash yesterday.
Yeah.
And then just left.
First thing I did, call Isaac.
That's right.
Which is crazy. People think insurance as an afterthought.
You called Isaac right away, right?
The first thing I did.
Yeah.
And I got in an accident this summer, too. The first thing I did, call Isaac.
Yeah.
I got in an accident, and I called Isaac was the first thing I did.
People think of insurance as an afterthought.
Yeah.
And, we do mortgages, which is super, super complicated, right? There's a lot of moving parts.
Yeah.
It's really hard to understand a lot of times. But insurance, I'm completely clueless with. I think it's more complicated than what I do. I don't understand any of it. I don't understand what coverage does what kind of limits. I don't understand any of it.
The beauty of
which is crazy that's an afterthought.
Yeah, the beauty of working with someone like Isaac, let's say you have Progressive, hypothetically. They do a lot of advertising or Geico, whatever it is, and you get in an accident, try to call them.
Yeah, who do you call?
You're not going to
call
the little
like 800 number,
1-800.
Yeah. If you got a guy like Isaac who's a very full service, he answers the phone, which is big, and B, he knows what he's talking about. So I remember I got my accident, he's like, dude, you're fine. Just get out. And I was like, oh, okay. You know what I mean? So
you really don't want to be calling Isaac.
No,
you don't.
Isaac doesn't get
other than the first phone call. It's like, hey, I'll call you if I need you.
Yeah.
Right.
It's good when you have to call Isaac,
it. Yeah.
That he's there to help.
Yeah.
Right.
He answers. If he doesn't, he calls you right back.
So let's start with that, Isaac. Talk to us about your model and how it is different than going, let's say, direct. A lot of people think if you go to direct to Progressive or direct to Geico or direct to Allstate, that potentially that's better, right? A lot of times.
So I've represented almost every company out there at one point in my career.
Yeah.
So I will never say that any company is a bad company,
Sure.
but I think what it relies on is the agent. So I, starting out, wanted to be the best agent that was out there. And I know that sounds like a funny statement, but I wanted to know the most. I wanted to know everything about my companies, my claims process. I just wanted to know everything. So when somebody called me, I was giving them actual information that was true to the policy, to them, And if they had any question, I could guide them in the right direction, because you may have a different situation than what you guys do, and I may have a different situation what anyone else might. So when somebody calls me, I want to give them the right information that's going to pertain to them. And when I tell them an answer, I want to give them the correct information instead of making up something.
That's the worst. That's the worst.
That's when you get into trouble, is when you start kind of flying by the seat of your pants.
Yeah.
Or even worse, if you go to a Progressive or something like that, where you could pick your own insurance.
That's bad.
You just that's flying by the seat of your pants. It's like doing your own mortgage.
I remember just going on to Geico and like quoting cars and doing it and getting the proof of insurance so I could just buy the car.
I have no idea what any of the coverage
like downloading
is on
it, which was convenient. But then I had an accident, like that flood, right? And they're like, "Yeah, man."
That's when I learned my lesson.
The dealer called me. They're like, "Your insurance company does not want to pay."
Like
shit.
Yeah. I lost a car in that flood too. We had a big flood here in Metro Detroit.
That was a nice car too.
Yeah, it was a Mercedes C300, but like I thought I could make it through a puddle. It didn't make it.
It wasn't a puddle. It was a lake, bro.
Yeah. You go right down in it.
Yeah. So my car turned into
plug your ears, Isaac. Next time there's a flood, I might have a couple claims.
So yeah, Isaac. So how do you differ now that you have the ability? Because like us, we're a broker in some sense and a lender, so we can pick our investors, kind of like you. So talk to the audience what that means.
So I have standards on how I operate. So there's just those minimum standards, and unless somebody absolutely insists on doing something different, which that will happen, but I want to know that I've educated the client on what I recommend. And what I find is probably about 95% of the time when somebody comes to me, they've left with an education, they've left with better coverage than what they had. And it's not always about the cheapest price. And again, I want to touch on that I'm going to make sure they get all the discounts. I want to make sure that I find the best coverage for the best price for them.
That's the trick.
Well, it's not only that. I know with a couple policies that I've done, you've explained the different coverages and the different limits, and you gave me different options for me to make a choice. It's not just, this is the policy that you're going to get. Like, you explained what the differences were between each option and let me pick, which was great. Because
a lot of times it's like $100 extra a year, but you get so much more, right?
I think you just have to understand, too, what that insurance is covering, right? Like, for example, on auto insurance, like the liability stuff, it's like, I don't want to do that. Well, hypothetically, let's say this happens and, you have a $200,000 hospital bill. Are you covered?
Right. And I'll tell you, that's going to get even more important. I know this is a whole different topic, but liability coverage is going to be so important next year. It's going to be more important with the new laws that are changing, the new no-fault reform.
Yeah. So just so everybody out there across the country, in Michigan right now, we're a no-fault state where basically you can crash someone's car, blow their car up, they get medical, you drive off, and it's not your fault, basically. And the other person's insurance has to cover that. So how is that changing?
So what's going to happen is the threshold in which somebody's going to be able to sue is going to increase. So, and again, not to get in a whole long, lengthy conversation on that, but where there might be 2 main items that somebody can sue for, now it's going to go to 3. And again, anybody listening out there that's in insurance, I'm still studying the laws. I feel like I've got a good understanding on it, but it's going to increase to where you can sue more. And so
think about that.
It's going to be important, more so than ever, to have the right liability protection.
So think about that. So if you're getting your own insurance and you don't know that that's coming and you're not prepared for that, you don't have the right person explaining that to you, you're not going to have the right coverage, right?
So and I've heard rumors about this too, and I didn't realize that something's actually changing. Is Michigan still going to be no fault?
There's still going to be the no fault, yes. Okay. But they did a reform, and they say the governor signed a new bill and new laws were put into place that have already started changing, but are going to change even more so in July of next year. That's the big July.
What do you think it's going to do for premiums?
That's what I was going to ask too.
So if everyone has their policy set up perfectly, theoretically,
90% of people don't.
Well, my clients do.
Right.
But the ones out there that do not, they're going to have to make their policy right first, which is probably going to be a big premium increase. And then we'll know more on what's going to happen to their premiums. But theoretically, it should go down.
But there's arguments
over
about
time
that.
due to less.
Yeah, it's a pretty loaded conversation.
There's a lot of debate on this. I've seen it.
Yeah, and the laws can change now. And again, I'm going to say I've been through 4 different meetings. I've met with multiple CEOs of different insurance companies, different lawmakers. So I feel like I've got a good grasp on the law. But there's going to be changes.
What percentage of car insurance, do you like the premium itself is attributed, do you think, towards liability, and what percentage is attributed towards like fixing your car, right?
So liability is actually probably I'll say the cheaper part of your policy. It's the personal injury coverage. That's the medical portion of your policy.
Yeah.
That's probably the most expensive portion.
Right.
And sometimes I've seen as much as, what's that?
Because going to the hospital is outrageous.
Yeah, it is. And even more so when there's a accident.
Yeah.
The health insurance is.
They get smashed on that. So let's go into the homeowners insurance, because obviously we're talking real estate.
Sure.
So in your opinion, what are some real like points that as a homeowner that people should be looking for when they're thinking about insurance, right?
Absolutely.
You know, what are the things that they should look out for, be aware of, and make sure that they have covered? Because to me, insurance is vital, because you don't need it till you need it, and when you need it, if you don't have it, you're in really deep water.
Right.
Especially with your biggest asset.
Absolutely.
Right.
So the most important thing, you want to have replacement cost. And I will say that probably 99% of the policies out there will have replacement cost. There's very few policies that don't. Vacant properties may not have replacement cost.
Mm-hmm.
If it's a risky property, if it's in bad shape, those may not be insured for replacement costs. They may be insured for the market value, or what's called actual cash value.
Got it.
But most of the homes that you're going to buy, probably almost all of them that you guys are dealing with, are going to be insured for replacement cost.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's other coverage that go along with it, like you were talking about, the liability protection, your contents coverage, which is all of your stuff inside the home. So you picture if you turn your house upside down and what else fell out of it, that would be your personal property or contents coverage.
Yeah.
Then there's other coverages that, the list goes on. There's water backup. So most people, first time they bought a home.
About that one.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of people found that out in the floods when they had their water back up. They weren't covered.
Yeah.
They were
and
just
they
total
needed
losses.
flood insurance too, which most areas are not in a flood
Right.
zone. But that was just that fluke weird thing that all of a sudden most of Michigan in that area was in a flood zone.
Wild. And there were so many like people that got flooded out. I remember seeing like carpets and stuff, people ripping out their
Like
basements.
7 feet of water in the basement.
Yeah, which was very anomalous. But those people, because they didn't have flood coverage done, right? They couldn't do much.
So interesting enough, a lot of the insurance companies, and I'm not speaking on all of them, a lot of the insurance companies, if you had water backup, they actually stepped in and provided coverage, whatever your water backup limits were.
Wow, that was okay. So that's
I was with
interesting.
Allstate at the time, and I remember they did that.
That's awesome.
I had Allstate before I switched over to you in my last house, and they tried to deny my claim because my washing machine malfunctioned and flooded my basement with 3 feet of water. Just didn't stop running for like 9 hours. And they tried to say it was water backup, and they tried to deny my claim because I didn't have water backup. But
That's
they
interesting.
ended up covering it.
So that's interesting. So obviously, people have to be very aware of what their coverage is as far as
They
that
do.
goes, right? And so does that end up costing more, or you know what I mean? Like as far as the cost, like because I've seen it with you. I've seen you get our clients better coverage at a more reasonable price than what they were getting for less coverage. So why the discrepancy there?
So one, the right discounts may not be applied to the policy. If you have a home and auto together,
It's bundled, right?
it's a huge discount. I mean, it can save you total about $600 a year on average.
Yeah.
Give or take a few dollars there. But that's a big part of it. There's group discounts you can apply. There's prior insurance discounts you can apply. There's a lot of discounts that you can apply that someone is totally entitled to. So that's my job, is to make sure that all those discounts get applied, make sure the right coverage is there. And a lot of times it's less than what I typically see somebody switching over to me is.
Are there times where you see a policy with one provider and it's really strong at a really fair price, but you don't feel totally comfortable with the provider itself, and you'd say this provider probably has better legs and probably I like them better, and they're a little bit more expensive, but they're not the cheapest, but I just feel more comfortable with that.
Absolutely.
Company. That happens, right?
100%. That happens daily. So I know all my companies. I know most of the CEOs personally. I know the claims reps. I meet with the underwriters. I have a good relationship. They know I write good business.
Mm-hmm.
So with that, I can wholeheartedly speak on any one of my companies that I feel that they're the best company to be with.
That's atypical. Most agents, I don't think, have those relationships. How did you, and why did you? Because you could just literally, Isaac, what you're telling us right now is you literally take your profession very seriously and you go above and beyond.
I do.
That's got to be atypical in almost all professions where someone is in the profession. They probably just go through the motions and they probably do a good job, but they're not as involved in the actual full process. Why would you do that
I'm a nerd, I guess. So I've read the policies that, the big thick book.
Yeah,
nobody reads those.
Nobody reads
I
those.
have.
Nobody reads those.
And I read the policy change. I read the underwriting guidelines.
Yeah.
I've had very lengthy sit down 8-hour lunch, dinner, breakfasts with the CEOs I want to know why the companies operate the way they do. If there's something that they don't like, and not that they're a bad company, I'm not going to put that client with that company. I'm going to put them somewhere else that client or that carrier has an appetite for that client.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to be the best. Not that it's
That's good. Yeah.
egotistical. I just wanted to know that when I insuring my clients that I'm giving them the best advice.
So
is really what it is.
So I'm a client. I'm a home buyer, and I'm buying a new house for the first time, second time, whatever it may be. Let's say call it second time. And I've been with another provider for many, many years. What I've noticed, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, is they don't do a review of their policy. And over time, that policy, you'll look at it, and they're paying $1,400 a year for what looks like could have been an $800 policy or $1,000 or $1,200, whatever it may be. It could be even more egregious. I've seen $2,300, like really egregious numbers where they've just been with the same company for so many years, and over time it just ballooned up. Do you see that happening, and why does that happen?
Every single day. So companies will take on rate increases periodically. Hopefully they're not huge rate increases. But what else will happen is companies will come out with new products, meaning a new homeowner's policy.
Mm-hmm.
There's new discounts that become available. And ultimately, I think it's reviewing the policy because a lot of times you can rewrite a policy
with the same provider. With new discounts.
The insurance score too.
Yeah.
So that's another part of it. Home and auto insurance.
What is an insurance score, and how does that work? Because I've seen.
Again, that's a loaded question, but think about like a credit score for insurance.
Yeah.
So it's not the same as having a credit score, but I would say it's similar to that.
It's analogous.
Yeah.
How do consumers find that? Because so I'll tell you how I know about the consumer. I've got Credit Karma, and I just use that to like kind of monitor my stuff, and it showed me my insurance score on there. It was like an A- or an A.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah. So is there a place where consumers can go? Is that the real score? Like, you know what I mean? Like for us, Credit Karma, the credit score that you get there is not the credit score we use.
Right.
It's a different model.
It's a different model. So maybe Credit Karma found a way to like create their own. I don't know. Is there a way a consumer can find out what their score is?
Yeah, it's hard to say there's a site. I mean, maybe there is somewhere out there, but for me, anytime I run a insurance quote, every company has their different scoring system.
So it's different for each
It
provider.
is, absolutely.
Yeah.
Would you tell your client if they asked what their score was?
Yeah, it's their information. A lot of times it'll show on their policy.
Oh, really?
So it's nothing that we have to hide.
It's policies. I think it's company specific. Like they're going to score you based on your credit score, claims, and all that, right?
So how often?
I don't even know what all goes into it because a lot of it is proprietary information.
Really?
Got it.
So
That's
I just
interesting.
know that it is an insurance score. I have a good idea on where most of it comes from.
Yeah.
But again, there's a lot of different avenues that
Like,
comes
for
from.
example, where you live, does that play a factor into it?
Not for the insurance score.
No.
No.
There's just I'm the individual.
Now, if you live in an area where there's a lot of claims, there's a lot of theft, it's a bad area, that can play a part into it. So if you have a
Not your
horrible
score,
driving
though, or
record,
just the
just the
premium?
rate.
Yeah.
Yeah, but not the insurance score.
How often should somebody call their insurance agent to do a checkup on their policy, and also what major changes or minor changes that people don't think about that they should call and tell their insurance agent to update their coverage for?
Well,
I know I have a trampoline.
If you have a good agent, they should be calling you.
True.
Yeah.
There it is.
But if you have an update to anything, you always want to let them know, because I've had oftentimes where I'll quote somebody on the office phone, we're talking, get done, and then they'll call me back on my cell phone and be like, hey, is this on recorded? Or is this conversation being recorded? I'm like, okay, this is a huge red flag,
Yeah.
because you're about to tell me something that you don't want me to tell the
I have a
insurance.
safe with $1 million in my house.
Yeah,
Right?
right.
Can I insure that?
Right.
Yeah.
So you want to be
things
full
happen
disclosure,
sometimes.
whether it's good or bad, because you don't ever want to get into a situation. So think about this. You have something risky, and I'm just using that as just a general topic. You got something super risky in your home, and you don't want the insurance company to know about it. Then that risky piece or whatever topic all of a sudden becomes a claim, and I have to tell you it's not covered because you never disclosed that to us. So
Don't lie to your insurance guy.
yeah, it doesn't end well.
Never. It's just like mortgages.
Yeah,
Don't
it's
lie
not
to me
like they're
about
going to call the cops
No,
unless
I
you
have,
actually commit fraud. you
right.
know?
Yeah, fraud. And again, I'm not going to call the cops on fraud either. I won't insure you if it's fraud.
Yeah.
So-
Yeah, you just tell them, no, that's not possible, man.
Yeah, right.
Right.
And it happens, but not often.
We
Okay.
get it on our end too. You know, people, I want to buy a investment, but I only want to put 5% or 3%
It's going to
down.
be my primary residence. That's a big
I'm like, dude,
part
it's
of
not
it.
your primary.
Right.
Yeah.
You live in a $400,000 house. You want to buy a
The straw
$100,000
purchases.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a lot. I mean, there's a lot of stuff. I mean, it's been, underwriters are really good at sniffing that out now, but there's a lot of fraud in every high value
Yeah.
industry, right?
Well, what's interesting about insurance as well, it's kind of like a actuary science, right? Like
Yeah, we have actuaries.
like determine the rates or
They do.
risk levels for, like, for example, like a zip code versus one or the other, right? And all the things that happen in that zip code. So it's like with us, at least, it's just like kind of black and white facts. With that, it's like ever changing.
It
right?
is. Yeah.
Like, hey, new data came out on 48067. This company who was more expensive last year is now cheaper this year,
Mhm.
right?
And where you live versus where you work for like auto insurance and stuff, like where your
Right.
vehicle's going to be parked is all
That's
it's
huge.
crazy. It's
Do you have like a system that shows everything, like all your carriers and their rates for like a
Yeah.
specific person?
So we use a company called PL Rater, and so all of our carriers are linked with this website.
Mhm.
So I'm not going into every single carrier
Yeah.
entering all the information.
So you
that
can
would
see
take
it all
all
at
day.
pricing
once.
engine, yeah.
Because I feel like if that is the case, right? Like even as a broker, sometimes there's a lender that might have a better rate,
All the time.
but they suck,
They
right?
suck,
Bad
yeah.
process,
Yeah.
whatever. So we don't even price it out there. But seeing that in front of you, like with a loan sifter, for example, that's what mortgages.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Because I know, like you said, probably before your renewal, if you haven't added anything, you should probably call and check. Is there
Yeah.
any company I could save? If you call,
Oh, I bought my kids a trampoline.
if you're with Allstate and you call Allstate, unless they had a new program, probably not, right? Maybe.
Yeah,
But-
I can't speak on behalf of other companies. I mean, I was with Allstate for 10 years, so I knew how Allstate
I'm just saying you have
operated.
more options.
I do.
You have more
I
companies you
absolutely
can
do.
review.
So going back to this trampoline thing, because so I built a swing set for my kids in the backyard. So
Okay.
so I guess that just got me thinking, like, what kind of things does a homeowner do that they might not think they need liability for?
That's what I was asking before.
Like the trampoline. Does he need liability for that? If someone
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
I
So
specifically talked about that when I was buying my house.
Yeah.
I will say this, that you want your liability coverage, and I've got a certain policy that I'll mention that all of you have. It's called an umbrella policy.
Yeah.
You absolutely need to have an umbrella policy.
Yeah. Isaac.
Anytime you own a
yeah.
home, for anybody listening out there, get an umbrella.
And it's not expensive.
Most of the time, it's about the same price because the
Yeah.
discounts it applies.
Right. Well, people
So-
will sue you if you look at them wrong, right?
Yeah.
You've worked your whole life to gather $200,000, $300,000, $400,000, right? And someone sues you for all of it because their dumbass kid slipped and hit their head on your cement or whatever, right? And it's like, you're done. You're done. Unless you have that insurance, which costs, what, $100 per year or something crazy? I mean,
give or take, yeah.
Kid falls. God, that's a dumbass kid.
Dumbass kid. My wife and I were just talking about
that
this,
might
'cause
not
we were-
be tries to do a backflip off the trampoline and snaps
no,
his
my
neck or
kid does
something.
that. I go
Yeah.
nuts. My wife and I were talking about Christmas lights, right? And I got this big boom lift to put my Christmas lights
Yeah.
up, and she's like, "Why don't just hire someone to like climb up there, and so you don't have to do it?" And I was like, "Yeah," and they're gonna fall and sue me
Right.
because right, and I was like, "Actually, sure, I'll hire someone because if they, Isaac's got me covered."
Right.
They've got to. You got to get someone that's insured. But just by the way, for the audience to understand what Brad is talking about, he actually, you know when people are changing lights in street lights and they're in this huge boom thing, like bucket. He got one of those to put lights up. It's ridiculous.
Where did you get that at, by the way? Like, where do you
He
rent
lives
that
in the
at?
sticks. He probably called a friend.
No, I think Alta equipment rental or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, but you do see all the time, right? You're like, wait, you have $200,000 in the bank, you know?
Yeah,
I do.
No, you
I
know,
was like,
Just
man,
talking to someone, they're like, well, I had a settlement. You know?
Oh yeah.
What happened? Slipped at Walmart, slipped on someone's porch, whatever, right?
JG.
And it's pretty easy to
right.
sue and get paid on that, right? Because,
Right.
I mean, if I didn't shovel my driveway, it is my fault,
Yeah.
technically, per the law,
Yeah.
or, you know.
I have some interesting stories about that. People that you would just never guess in a million years. I had a lady a couple weeks ago, she called me. Sweetest old lady I've ever talked to in my life. And I said, what level of umbrella? She goes, well, do you have one for 45 million? 45
What?
million?
What?
She goes, yeah, it was medical malpractice. She got it paid out some $50 million. I said, well, we're going to have to work on that one.
Wow.
But
Yeah.
we at least need to get a umbrella policy for you. She had 100,000 in liability protection.
Which doesn't work.
And she's liquid at, well, I'm sure she probably have protection with some type of trust or whatever, but still think about that. She's worth $45 million. She has that in the bank, no loans. She bought a new Bentley, and she has $100,000.
That's like some
Wow.
FDIC shit, right? Like,
Nuts.
your assets are covered up to $100,000.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right?
Let me ask you this, because your model, for most consumers, they don't even know your model exists. To be fair, they don't know they can go to an independent that has multiple carrier.
Clients
ability.
are just, it's so funny.
They have no
Like,
idea.
Not all the time, but a lot of the time it's like, yeah, whatever, whoever's the cheapest. I'm like,
No, man. You
okay.
got to talk to my guy.
So for the
Yeah.
price of a Jimmy John's once a month,
Jimmy John.
you know?
Yeah.
A sandwich, not like a restaurant.
Yeah. That's like my dad. He's like, can you get me a
Yeah.
McDonald's? But yeah, I mean, for the price of a sandwich per month or every 2 months, like, you're going to skip off on this coverage and work
Yeah,
with some
doesn't make sense.
company, which
Not
I
insurance.
know sucks.
To bankrupt you.
Like, it's
someone
like,
sues you.
imagine how hard it is to get this declaration page. Imagine when you have to make a claim.
We'll talk
You
about
know?
that in a minute.
Think
So,
about
yeah.
this too. So nobody likes to pay insurance. I don't, and I'm in the
Because it's not
business.
something that you ever use. It's not
Correct.
tangible to you, right?
But just think about this.
I
So
text Isaac all the time.
Yeah.
I'm like, bro,
We
what?
do.
Like,
well, you're buying a car.
Yeah, every 2 weeks he's calling Isaac for a new policy.
But the moment of impact, so let's say you're driving down the road and you're in a severe impact, you and your kids are going to the hospital. Are you thinking, I'm so glad we saved $20 a month?
That's the point.
Because it's that moment of impact, whether it's your home burning down, you've just injured or killed somebody, and now you're going to the court. They've hired Jeffrey Feiger, Mike Morse, Sam Bernstein.
For those out there, they're like local lawyers. Just so you guys don't.
Oh, I got to apologize. I
Advertise-
forget this is
advertise
going nationwide.
heavily.
Yeah, we got some
They'll
people
have
in
little
Sweden.
jingles and catchphrases.
Yeah,
but yeah, they're coming after you.
call
They
Sam.
are.
Yeah, you
And
gotta
so
call
you're
Sam.
not
Yeah.
you're not thankful that
855
you
Mike
saved
wins.
$20 a month.
No, they're coming
So
out. Yeah,
you
they're
want to
coming
know
after you.
that you call me and I'm telling you you're covered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how do people like how do you personally get the word out to people? I know that obviously you like we refer you business and we get nothing from that. We just want people to be taken care of and we want good work, right? That's why we refer people to Isaac all the time, because we want people to be really well taken care of. He does a great job. But most people that we talk to when they're buying a house, they have no idea a person like you exists. They're either calling Allstate
who do I
or
call?
Geico.
Yeah.
Like, how do you
State
compete
Farm?
from a branding or from the ability to capture clients on that level when there's these huge marketing spends that are being spent to like basically drown you out?
So I don't look at that as competition because I know that I've doing this for about
That's
15
good.
years.
Okay.
So I have a large clientele base
Yeah.
that refers business to me. And so I stay in contact with them to the best of my ability.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that they see the value, my clients see the value in working with me, knowing that they're not getting a phone call back in 3 or 4 days. I have a rule that I call everybody back within 24 hours.
It's 100% true.
Even if he's on vacation.
Yes. He'll text. He'll be like, hey.
crazy.
My
yeah.
wife,
Well, it's funny.
that drives my wife a little bit nuts,
But it's great.
but she understands it.
Yeah. That's interesting. Okay.
I'm sure your wife enjoys everything that you can provide to her too. By
Yeah.
you know,
That doesn't
So-
work, man. I tried that one time. I put my hands up and I said,
Don't ever say that.
I
to your
said,
wife.
look around. I do all this. And she's
Well,
like, shut the fuck up.
but I
Like
mean,
your Scarface.
she's got to appreciate the hustle, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it is annoying to be on call 24/7,
is,
but
yeah.
like things get done.
But I'm
And
grateful
people work
for
with you, yeah.
The ability to do this.
Yeah.
That I have, that I don't make phone calls going out. Like that's I
Right.
talk to other agents.
Well, you've
and
built your
they
book,
struggle.
yeah.
Well,
And
people
it's-
are always knocking on our door, and some of them are pretty good, right? Like
Yeah.
once in a while, someone's like, "Do you have a couple guys?" Yeah, I got other people we work
Yeah,
with, right?
sure.
But you know, for the most part, it's just like everything else. I mean, who's going to do a good job? for me, right? Other people are like, oh, I want kickbacks or this or that, but like,
Get out of here.
yeah.
Are there any policies that you see that where people have unnecessary things as far as their insurance? Because that's like the other side of it, right? Like, I don't know, is there are there policies out there you look at and you're like, you don't need this. Why are you doing that?
That's a good one.
That's a loaded question.
That's a stumper.
Yeah.
So I can't really think of too many times I've ever seen that.
Yeah, it's usually
Now-
A double or triple the value of dwelling coverage.
That doesn't happen that often because
I've
the
seen
policies are all
some crazy
underwritten.
ones.
So there are some companies out there that the way they write their policy, they include the personal property and the dwelling coverage together.
Oh,
So that may be one of those situations.
Oh, it was like $120,000 house. It was like $300,000, and I'm like, there's nothing in this house.
I guess I'd
don't
have to know this scenario on it, but I don't come across that too often because the underwriters look at each policy, and so they're not going to want to insure a $100,000 home for $500,000. Think about that loss.
Yeah.
So they just paid you out $400,000 more than what they should have.
interesting. Now, does an insurance agent make more income if they give like shittier policy, overcharge people? Can they possibly make more? Is that something
could.
They can, right?
But you have to think about this. So I want all my clients to have the best coverage, the best policies, and have all the discounts because I want that client for a long time, even if it means
It's not transactional, right? That's
No.
with you though. But I guess my point is,
There are sleazy agents out there.
Yes,
yeah, that's my
I
point.
could tell you horror stories all day long
Because people aren't
that happen
checking it,
every
right?
single
They're not
day.
checking it. Their agent, they've been together, they've been using them for 20 years, and that agent's basically fleecing them on some level, right?
But think about this: people are more with the beauty of the internet. People are more likely to shop for anything that they buy.
And that's why Geico can say, we'll save you $500 a year because
Yeah.
most people are overpaying by that much,
Right.
right?
That's marketing. I mean, I could say that too.
Yeah. It's just marketing,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I could save you 600.
They're
Paul.
great commercials, though.
You want 650? I got 700. Give me 8. I mean, what's the limit? You know?
That's hilarious.
It is
yeah.
crazy though. A lot of people are also overpaying.
Oh
You
yeah,
know, every-
100%. And so I don't want any of my clients to have to pay $1 more than what they should, because I want that client for a long time. I want that if they do go shop, that they're like, well, we're about $20 more, but I like the value of you.
You're in the ballpark.
We're in the ballpark.
Well, like 90% of the time we send someone over to you, like you email us back a day later. Hey, here's the quote I sent
Usually
over.
same day.
Yeah.
Okay, so the
Yeah.
audience understands a big part of insurance on our end as mortgage companies is getting the policy on time, making sure the coverage is there, making sure that it's ready for the close date, the effective date. There's a lot of things
And
that go on.
that
our end.
effective date is sometimes a moving target,
Always
right?
moving.
Oh, yeah.
And that's a
It's
pain.
always moving. We have one right now.
Some
that
agents are a
we've been
pain in
waiting
the
forever.
Yeah,
ass to work with.
They're
that.
just like, hey,
And I don't
we got to
understand that.
completely re-underwrite the policy, and
People give us a
it
hard
takes
time.
us 2
understand
days.
that.
I'm like, well,
So if the
already
audience
wrote the
understands, let me
policy.
explain real quick. So like when you get a mortgage, you got it. The house has to be insured for the full year going forward, or else you're not getting money lent on that. And
The
then
day you close.
the day you close. And a lot of insurance agents will be like, well, I need X, Y, I need all this information, and then it's like 48 hours. And then sometimes to get something changed on that effective date could take it could really like stop a closing
Right.
sometimes because it won't close without it. It doesn't seem like an important thing until it's not there, right? And when you
Yeah.
work with someone like Isaac who understands that, as opposed to fighting it, there's a lot of insurance agents that are like assholes and are like, I'm not doing it for some reason. And
I
they're
gotta
like,
cancel
yeah,
this
like
policy
it's
and rewrite it.
I'm
Why
like, can you
anybody
just
would start a policy so I don't start a policy until I email one of you guys,
Yep.
or the client says, yes, I'm in closing, or I closed this morning.
Yeah.
There's no way I'm going to start a policy unless I know, because there is so much headache that goes
you
into
gotta unravel it.
why would I
unravel
want to
it.
do that? And I
Yeah.
don't understand.
I just think you
why
have a
they-
lot more autonomy than some other companies too. Like you call a customer service rep at whatever company, right? AAA or
They're
something,
hard to
and they're
deal with,
like,
man.
they,
Yeah.
they're pretty good. But like sometimes you call and they're like, well, it's going to take 2 days to get a deck page.
Yeah. I'll
I'm
put the
like,
change in.
days.
I'll put the change in the system, and
yeah,
we gotta wait.
It takes
I would
48
love to
hours.
get away with 2 days. I feel like if I did
I'm like,
told anybody
all right,
2 days,
you're
I'd
going to
have no
lose
clients.
this policy if you don't get it over to
Isaac
me in the
doesn't do
next
2 days.
hour. 'cause
I did-
I'll
I did
have
this 2 hours.
them
2
call
hours.
someone else. Yeah, it's funny. Like literally have had people like adamant about using their insurance company. I'm like, we're actually not going to close if you don't call Isaac.
Because your agent
Like,
is
yeah.
golfing
Not to hold
right
it over
now.
your head, but like,
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on, but it's been 3-4 days. You need to call someone else.
Yeah.
You could work with them later if you want, but we need to get this done.
Yeah. Insurance. It can
And then you
actually-
end up saving them money anyways.
Yeah,
Right?
better coverage.
better
Yeah.
And an umbrella.
That's the thing.
And cover your SkyTrack.
So, so a lot of people are terrified to file a claim.
They shouldn't be.
Do I want to file a claim? I got a deductible.
Yes, that's a great
What's
question.
going to happen to my premium when it renews? So talk about that. If you file a claim, auto or home, typically, is your premium going to go up?
Not necessarily.
So talk about that.
I'll say this. So I had a flood claim. It was a big water backup claim. Because of how it generated, I think it increased my policy $50 a year.
That's it.
And it was a $10,000 coverage that it was paid out. So you do the math, it made sense. And I'm in the insurance business. I'm not filing claims quickly at all.
Yeah.
So most of the time, it's a very minimal. Now, if it's something that is intentional, you've had multiple claims, yes, that could potentially affect you. But if you're filing a claim where it was a windstorm,
And it's documented.
there's different levels of claims. So yes, may it go up? Yes, it may. There's always that potential, but it's not going to be always drastic like everyone thinks it's going to be.
And look at the break even, right?
Right.
I mean, it depends. Did you scuff your bumper on a curb? Okay, you might want to pay that out of pocket, right?
Right. And that's important to calling me. I'll guide you through that.
Yeah, but
If your windshield needs replaced and it's $200 windshield, but your deductible's $1,000.
well, I had a watch drop and on the tile, and I called Isaac, and it was on Easter. It was like, man, this.
Sal shattered.
I
a
was
Rolex, just
shook
so
about it too.
he
He's like,
shattered a Rolex.
We've had
Isaac-
some good conversations.
and I did that when I got the quote back. Of course, it was like the most expensive price, and I called Isaac. He's like, it's probably going to make your policy go up like $80 a year.
Yeah.
Well, it's either pay $1,500 out of pocket, right? Or
Right.
how long's the break even? It's like, all right, 12 years.
Yeah.
We'll figure that out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what's funny is there's this this happened to my mom. So there was a hailstorm, right? And there's these insurance chasers because they know that if you have hail damage, they can come in and they can call your. People don't even know this, right? There's a hailstorm and you can get a whole new roof based on the damage that was done by the hail, which is a normal coverage. But these guys will go through the whole neighborhood. And I remember my mom's neighborhood. These guys went through the neighborhood because there was a hailstorm. It was a nice neighborhood. And there was like 25 houses all getting new roofs all at the same time. So my mom, who's a genius, she's the guy's like, I'm going to file the claim. I'll do it all for you, blah, 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 blah. And my mom was like, yeah, okay, cool. And then she just called her guy and just did it herself. Because, right. And it was more feasible that way. So is that like something like that scenario? Does that hurt your premiums, or is that just part of what they assume?
That's a natural disaster, natural cause. Yeah. So that it may cause your rate to go up, but that's not going to go up by much.
My point with that, though, is all these people had the ability to now get that their roofs replaced, but nobody knew they had that coverage.
Right.
Are there any things like that people are seldom used but could be used more in their insurance policies that they don't know about?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there are. You're going to put me on the spot. I'm not going to be able to think of a situation now. But yeah, there's many times that if you look at your coverage, it's amazing what all's in there.
What's actually, because I feel like people, let's say I have a bad roof and I didn't know I had a hail damage and I didn't know could potentially change my whole roof when it would be covered by insurance. People need to know that. Yep. So I think the thing is having a guy like you is saying, hey man, I think I even reached out to you. I think
probably like personal property, like that's included, right?
Yes.
Not like a jewelry rider, but probably things that happen. It's like, man, someone ran this over.
Yeah.
And you could have claimed on your homeowner's insurance policy.
Absolutely.
There was a lightning strike near my mom's house once, and it blew out all our TVs.
Oh yeah, that's very common.
And we did get all new appliances and TVs and all that from insurance because of that. But I don't think people even like if it happened to me, I'd be like, fuck, man, I gotta buy all new TVs, right? Like I wouldn't think that that'd be covered. So knowing that I can call someone like you, again, it goes back to that service. It's like, dude, it's like that funny commercial, $5 in front of you, Jimmy, right? Like, right? It's like, can you call your guy and have a conversation about what just happened, or do you have to sit there and have somebody at some call center blow you off for 2 hours?
Definitely.
Right?
Well, I've never had you say like, dude, don't hand out my cell phone.
No.
Right?
Never.
Right.
Never.
Which maybe you do have an office line, and if you want me to set them there.
does.
But
I do.
I tend to hand out his office.
I'm not going to tell anybody not to
I have
call me
never
anyway.
given out. I don't even know your office line. I forward your.
I don't
contact.
either.
Yeah.
I have both. I have both of them.
It's that big black box that sits on my desk over there.
Right.
I'm kidding.
It's a voicemail machine.
Right.
So,
exactly.
All right, so we're getting near the end of the show. Is there anything else you want to touch on before we go into our 3 questions?
I think we talked about a lot. So I did have a list, but I looked at the rules and there was no agenda. So if we flow with conversation, then that's what happens.
Is there anything on there that you think is pertinent?
just don't buy into the idea that cheaper is always better. It might be, because a lot of times I'm cheaper, but I also have great coverage involved. So don't always buy into the idea that cheaper is better.
I think that's across the board. In any
How
industry.
much cheaper is it annually? Like monthly? Like how cheap are you? Like it blows my mind. They're like, well, his is like $850.
It is insurance. You shouldn't go cheap on insurance,
bro.
I really don't think you
I'll
should.
say this real quick. So I could write you a cheap policy that has no coverage for $600 a year. I could absolutely do that. There's nothing in the insurance law world that says you cannot write a cheap policy.
$350,000 home, it's like $540. I'm like,
gosh,
what?
There's
something wrong there. Yeah, there's something wrong.
I know the client pushed him to do that.
But you don't do that, right? And you're offering what's the best value for your
Somebody's
client.
signing a waiver if I do that.
Yeah.
That says that I covered my rear end.
Yeah, right. So so the audience out there, just when you're talking about insurance, any insurance, even like health, like you should be insured if you value whatever it is, and if your house and your cars are probably the biggest assets you have combined, they should be covered at a high level, and you should have umbrella policies so you don't ruin your life if someone gets hurt on your property.
That's right.
You have to pay it.
Yeah.
Like if you have a car, you have to get car insurance, right?
You do.
Make sure
if you have a house, if you have a mortgage, you have to have homeowners insurance, right? So why not get the best one?
Yeah, it's like health insurance. I think it's crazy.
Maybe not the best one, but a good one.
Right, like best to your ability.
Yeah, but it's like so easy and quick to switch out too.
Yeah,
Why not get the best one?
Absolutely.
Yeah, you're buying a house. Be okay paying a few dollars for insurance.
So if there's
it's minimal.
Any homeowners out there, car owners, or what other insurance do you offer besides
everything? Commercial, life.
Okay.
Do it all.
So if anyone out there listening wants
you do life?
Plane?
You do life?
I got to
plane. I've always wanted to do, but that's a whole nother. You have to just do. I think you just have to do plane insurance.
What's plane insurance?
Aircraft.
Aviation.
I'm thinking plane.
That's
like
a whole
bagel.
different level.
You will do school buses though. If you want.
Yes, we do. We can do school buses.
So the audience.
Brad has this weird school bus fetish.
Brad wanted to buy a fucking school bus and turn it into like a clown show. And like his idea was, I'm going to drive my family back and forth to a high school football game. It's going to be awesome.
Not just my family.
You're gonna strangers. You're going to have a service.
Yeah.
You're going to have a limo.
Party bus.
Oh, and you were going to drive it.
Yeah.
And you're not going to drink or anything. You're going to DD the whole time.
High school football. Bro.
I know you. You're not doing that.
Okay.
So
Brad'sPartyBus.com.
Whatever insurance you give him, you should double it because I know his lifestyle. It's not healthy.
They're like a high DUI risk insurance.
I don't think he has my life insurance.
Skytracks and school buses.
Yeah, it's not healthy at all. He's in buckets.
It's a country album.
But if anyone out there is listening and wants to have you educate them on their policy, review their policy, or even talk to you about potentially being able to refer you business and learn more about your business, how do they get a hold of you?
Phone number's 248-628-2505. And then my email is Isaac, ISAAC, at cicagency.net.
Perfect. So
and community insurance is the website,
Yes,
out of
community
Oxford, Michigan.
Got it. So can we do 3 questions now, you think? Okay, cool. So Isaac, what scares you?
What scares me?
Yeah. Tornadoes.
Tornado claims.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think on a personal side, can I go personal or is it business?
It's up to you.
It's on, yeah.
Things happening to my kids,
Mhm.
and my wife.
Mhm.
Like as a dad and a father and a man, I always want to protect them.
Yeah.
And with the crazy world we live in, it's that means a whole different level. I get calls when people death claims people, and we had a child death claim last week. That was a terrible one to deal with.
That would break me apart, dude. I don't know if
It
I could
was
handle that,
hard to deal with. You just want to go home and hug your kids.
Yeah.
Yeah. It probably gives you some good perspective on that.
That would be what scares me the most.
Got it. That makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. If you could pick one person in the history of your evolution that had the largest impact on you, who would it be and what was it and how did
Outside of the 3 of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a hard one because I've not mentored, I've been underneath people that have taught me a lot. I'll tell you, there's a really awesome person named Grant Cardone.
Yeah, I know Grant Cardone. Yeah.
I learned a lot from him at an early age, but I give a lot
Do
of.
you know him personally?
I met him one time.
Okay.
I went to his office down in Miami.
Yeah.
But I studied his business model, his work ethic like a hawk, and I give a lot of credit to him. Even though we're not close, I couldn't call Grant right now and say, "Hey, Grant," but he's a big impact on me.
I reached out to Grant to do our podcast, and he actually responded back.
Oh yeah, he responds back.
He
It's
responds
crazy.
back, yeah.
He knows how many million people,
Yeah.
and he responds back.
He
It's
responded back.
mind-blowing.
He's like, "Yeah, man, I appreciate it. Not right now, but it was cool. Like for him to take the time to respond back was pretty cool because I do admire a lot of the stuff that he does. It is impressive, and the way he built his wealth is really interesting.
But I got to answer that. There's the personal side too. So I give a lot of credit to my parents for giving me the opportunities, who taught me the right things in life to do the right versus wrong.
Yeah.
And also the owner of my agency is a wealth of knowledge. Like I think I know a good amount about insurance. He's like the encyclopedia of insurance. So I give a lot of credit to him.
That's awesome.
For what he's taught me.
It sounds like you've had a lot of good people around you. Which is,
I mean, the list goes on. I mean, that's, if I could really sit here and pen out everyone, the list would just go on forever, but I would say that.
I think the point of what you're saying right now, and this is just me, like, if anybody's like, get good people around you, right?
Yeah, I don't think that was the point. The point was to answer your question.
Yeah, but I'm just thinking just thinking about it. It's like, dude, like if you have good people around you that are smart, that care, that you can look up to, you're going to be more successful because you're going to just assimilate a lot of the osmosis.
Study your business.
Yeah.
Study what it is that you're actually doing for people.
Yeah, Sal's a good testament to that. I mean, Sal knows everything. Like
Sal's a sponge.
He's so, if he like I'll give you an example, like title work. Like I don't know how to read title work. I just never spent time doing it, but he knows. He'll be like blah 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 blah. I'm like, and I've been doing it longer, right? But he just wants to know all that information, which is good to know that. And I'm not that smart.
Good.
Sal's starting to know more than me about a lot of things. He's been like checking me on a couple of, like yesterday, we had a situation where Sal was right.
Yeah, Sal's right Sal's right way more times than he's wrong. I'll tell you that much. Which is,
I'm not used to that.
I wish he wasn't in the room and he wasn't listening to this. So
Deserted island.
You want to do deserted island? Okay. If you're on a deserted island and you could bring one item and one person, who would it be?
Outside your family.
Outside your family.
Outside of my family.
Can't be your kids or wife.
You have to be on this deserted island with one person and one item.
Answer carefully.
Deserted island, one item. I'd probably want to bring something to play music with because I love music so much. Music is my passion outside of my wife and children and my business, but music, I absolutely love music.
Yeah.
So I'd have to bring
powered.
What's that?
Like a hand crank powered stereo because you don't have electricity.
Solar powered.
Hey, I'd figure it out.
It doesn't know that he can bring whatever.
I'd make the music. I'd bring a guitar and learn how to play
it. Something musically inclined, not like okay, good. And then who?
On an island, deserted. I mean, bring Jimmy Buffett. He's the ultimate deserted island guy, right?
Well, you'd have a hell of a time.
Until
you two starve to death. But
I don't know.
I mean, if you brought Jimmy Buffett, you wouldn't need the music. He could just play music for you.
I'd learn to play with them.
Yeah,
so
there you go.
Yeah, that takes a whole.
I probably would rather hang out with Jimmy Buffett than like Bear Grylls.
I was going to say,
even though Bear Grylls might be like, hey, like we're gonna squeeze this elephant dong and live, but like, I'm out on that.
In my head, that's what I was thinking. Bear Grylls.
If I was bringing Jimmy Buffett, I wouldn't bring like a guitar or anything. I'd bring like a still so we can drink moonshine.
Right.
In Margaritaville.
Mm-hmm.
You guys should drink yourself to death.
Have you ever been to a Jimmy Buffett concert?
Many times.
Wild.
Buffett Bash.
Yeah, I lived in Florida for many years in New Orleans, so he played a lot down there. A lot of big festivals.
Crazy town.
Oh man, it's awesome.
They are. Yeah, they're serious.
You don't even
fans.
have to really like his music, and I don't necessarily think he's that great of a singer.
It's experience,
but it's just the whole escapism that's fun.
And he puts on a good show. He's a good performer.
He is.
He really is. Yeah. All right, man. Any parting words for the audience on insurance?
No, check your insurance policies.
Yeah, review it.
Or have Isaac do it for you.
Or have me do it for you, absolutely.
Real quick, before we go, what are like one or two things people should really look for when they're looking at their policy that they can point out real quick?
Liability protection. If you own a home, you need an umbrella policy. So if you have an umbrella policy, all the underlying liability limits will follow suit of that.
Good.
So if you live in an area where you have a lot of water going into your home, or if it's a wet area around you, make sure you have water backup coverage. That's another one.
Yeah.
And then two, for like car insurance, make sure you have coverage for if you get towed, where it'll cover your towing, and then for rental car coverage too.
Yeah.
So just make sure you have those.
I'll tell you.
Towing can get expensive,
Huge.
especially if you have a boat.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's like $3,000 to tow a boat.
Yeah.
Like across. Like,
all right. Well, we're running out of
One
time.
more time, how people get a hold of you?
248-628-2505 is the number, and then Isaac at cicagency.net.
Isaac, thank you so much for being on the show.
My pleasure. Always happy to be here.
Not only are you a great agent, you're a good human, you're a good friend, and honestly, like I think anybody working with you is lucky to work with you.
Thank you.
Yeah. So thank you everyone for listening. If you obviously have had your holiday already, hopefully you had a good holiday and Thanksgiving. If you haven't, enjoy your Thanksgiving because this is a podcast. You never know when people are going to listen. And if you're listening to this for the first time, and it's 3 years later in the future, and we don't know, thank you for listening. Yeah, that's how podcasts work. So we love you guys. Have a wonderful week. We'll see you next week.
You've been listening to Inside Real Estate, the nation's top real estate podcast. Don't forget to follow us at irepodcast.com and everywhere where podcasts are available.